Hello, this is Dmitry Sitkovetsky, and this is Sitkovetsky and Friends Virtual series sponsored by Rice Hotel. We have a wonderful guest tonight with us, or this afternoon, I should say. This is Ingrid Fliter speaking to us home in Italy. Welcome,
Hello.
Ingrid.
Hello, Dima.
Wonderful
Thank
to
you
have
so
you.
much. Thanks for the invitation. I'm so glad we can have some time to speak. Wonderful opportunity then.
Let's start from from the beginning, because you come from this far away, mysterious, but also rather very distinguished culturally country as Argentina. So tell me, what was your childhood like, whether there was some music in your family, how it all started?
Well, my parents were Argentinian born, but both are son and daughter from Jewish immigrants from Europe. So my origins go from Vilnius, Minsk, so Belarus, and Odessa. So somehow we are related, Dima, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We all come from the same place,
Exactly.
more or less.
Exactly. So I was born in a family that understood that art and was an important subject, not only important but fundamental. And they gave me this opportunity for me to grow in the most wonderful ambience possible. So I am absolutely, you can imagine how thankful I am to them, because they are both not professional musicians, but my father used to play the piano by ear, and my mother used to sing with a beautiful voice. Yes, so operas, I'm talking about Puccini and and Rossini, and that's how they met, because my father was playing the piano, some Chopin waltzes and nocturnes in a family meeting, and my mother was there, and she fell completely for this man who was playing the piano and was the center of attention of this party. And so I literally owed my life to music, to the piano actually, and to Chopin. My sister also studied, my sister also studied the piano, but she rather preferred to be in the, in the passionate one. So just dedicated to listening and supporting me a lot. So I was always very lucky for that. And my grandmother came from Vilnius. At that time it was Poland. So she always said that that's the reason why I play well Chopin, because I have it in my blood and all that. So I must tell you, Dima, even if I'm not the typical pianist who starts playing the piano at 2 or 3 years old, I started when I was almost 10. So my first piano lesson was when I was 9 and something. So I had 2 teachers. My first teacher taught me how to play the piano by ear. So I was repeating what she did. And that was wonderful, because it developed a very natural relationship with the piano and with the music in general. It was like a game, and I enjoyed it. And it was simply because my mother asked me whether I wanted to take a piano lesson, and I took it as a natural thing, because there was this piano at home. I said, why not? Of course. So, and that's how I started and never stopped. And later on, I had another teacher who taught me everything from scratch. So reading and harmony and of course all the discipline, and developed the rest of my teenager times. I developed my studies with her, and I must say that Argentina gave me somehow the taste of what a cultural life is. Because I grew up listening to operas. I was taken to Teatro Colón. Exactly. So that was a temple for the music. Every wonderful and most amazing artists were coming to visit us. And it was a very popular place to come. Even Rubinstein, I remember that saying that it was one of the most beautiful theaters to play. So I grew up taking this as part of my DNA. Somehow it was not possible not to think that it was not a choice. It was not a choice. It was part of my extension of who I am. And listening to Rubinstein's recordings in the morning, in the car, in the kitchen, everywhere I went. So he was my first teacher, I must say. He made me
fantastic.
Fell in love with the music, with the piano. Marta was the main figure for me, no doubt. And later on we can speak about that because she was the one who helped me, come to Europe. And
oh, she did.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
That was I really owe her so much because she not only inspired me, but she helped me concretely coming.
Practically. As most South Americans, you come to the point where somebody tells you should go to Europe.
Well, somehow I knew it. Somehow I felt it because I knew that the center of culture was here in Europe. I wanted to experiment that. I also wanted to experience life in a way. I felt that I needed. I don't know. It was an intuition, and what amazes me is that my parents were supportive, so supportive of me in that way. Because I imagine I'm the second child. With my sister, we have 12 years difference. So I was a really, the little baby of the family. Everyone was, how can I say in English, when they take care so much of you that you feel that nothing can happen to you, nothing.
Yeah. Overprotect.
Overprotective, exactly.
Overprotective, yeah. But as the baby of the family.
Yes, exactly. The most wonderful childhood, the most wonderful family I have. So I'm very, very lucky. But one day I mentioned that maybe, we should start thinking where could I study and, explore other territories and just expand my horizons. And Marta came to the picture. So Marta was visiting, and she's not very much of a party person, at least at that time she was not much, but she wanted to take part of a party that one wonderful lady was organizing for all of us young pianists to meet her. So this lady told me, just practice a little bit because we never know, probably you can play something for her, for Marta. But probably not. So most probably Marta will leave after half an hour. When she sees so many people, she will leave and something like that. But Marta amazingly stayed. She wanted to be there. She was in a wonderful mood. She was so sweet and so friendly. And of course, she said, who wants to play for me? And I said to myself, don't talk, Ingrid, don't say anything. And of course I said, me, I want to play. But I was dying inside of me, you can imagine, of, terror, terrified to play in front of my idol. And I did play nothing easy. I played the third Chopin sonata for her. and okay, so I felt terrible how I play. I thought it was a disaster. But I was, optimistic young lady and very bold. And I came to her and said, Marta, advise me, what can I do? How can I get better? What can I have to practice more and deepen into my studies? And she said, Ingrid, you have to come to Europe. I will organize for you. You have to study with Vitaly Margulis, my friend. And I give you my apartment in Geneva, so you don't have to worry about anything. My eyes were, you can imagine, I couldn't believe, I thought I was dreaming, I was punching me. I said, okay. So you can imagine, Dima, what a help that was for me. So, and what a demonstration of trust. What amazes me about Marta, that she didn't expect anything from me, any kind of, thank in particular that I have to give her, or being available for doing things that she asked me for. Nothing. She just gave me everything, and then she said, we cannot see, maybe we don't see each other anymore, don't worry, but I give you this. So this is what for me, because sometimes we think, okay, someone does this because she feels alone, she needs friends around her. That nothing to do with this at all. After this, I think I saw her 5 times in my life, 6 times in my life in this last 30 years. So And every time we see each other is lovely. And but this is the most wonderful experience for me, human experience, demonstration that generosity, it is indeed possible.
It does exist.
It
It still exists.
Yes.
It still exists. Certain things, when you hear about it, sort of repairs your faith in humanity.
Of course, I agree.
And in the decency of some of our colleagues, which is wonderful. So now let's just make a little jump so I could play a little music
Yes.
of the piece that you will, and then we'll come back to Europe and to Margulis, who I knew very well, was very fond of him. But let's just, because I want the listeners to hear a number of your video clips, and one of course stands apart, and that's your final fourth round Chopin Concerto number 2 at the Warsaw Chopin competition of 2000. You're there with Warsaw Philharmonic and Kazimierz Kord, wonderful conductor. Chopin is, of course, very, very important composer in your life, because I read something that you said, but I'd like you maybe to say that what is, in your opinion, key to the Chopin work? Because I relate to that very, very much.
To the Chopin soul, you mean, or the Chopin? To Chopin.
No, just key to Chopin music. To Chopin music.
For me, key has been always, and mostly when I deepen into his music during my studies, I discovered that this composer more than anyone speaks one-to-one. So he speaks like the best friend is telling you his deepest secret. So it's not external, it's something that comes so deeply inside from him to you. So this is something that influences deeply the way you play.
Now would be good time, because it's a Beethoven year, and you and I were going to play Beethoven Sonata, which is, I'm really looking forward, because we'll talk about chamber music a little bit later, but I'd love to hear you playing Beethoven Sonata number 17, Tempest. This is just a little part of the first movement. So now you're in Europe. What was your impression? First of all, in Germany, in Freiburg, that's a wonderful town. And of course, Margulis, but you didn't stay there very long. So how was that adjustment?
Well, my first time in Europe and alone. So I had all the world in front of me to discover. And I had this fantastic teacher who I was in love with, Vitaly Margulis. the first thing he told me, we have to develop the colors of the piano. The colors, you need more colors. And this is something that stays with me all my life now. A simple phrase, and because colors are how can I say, the discovery and the description of the soul. Is everything. It's everything. Colors. So for us pianists, it's difficult to achieve because the piano is not naturally an instrument that allows you to all these nuances. So you have to do a double effort to bring them out of the piano, but the satisfaction is really enormous when you do. But then one day Margulis told me that he was leaving for California, for Los Angeles.
It was last year there.
Exactly. So he said for me to come to the United States with him. But I was not ready to do another move because it was my first big move. So in a way, I stayed as much as I could. But then my instincts brought me back to Argentina. Somehow I felt I needed some refuel from my family again. It was a big experience, a very interesting and enriching experience. But I needed my mom and my father in a way. So I wanted to come back. And it was a good choice because in that year that I was in Argentina, I met Carlo Bruno, who was a teacher in Rome, who came to do this masterclass in Argentina, lasting a whole year. So he came every 2 months to Argentina too. And I received a scholarship to study with him in Rome. So that was my next step. And of course, Italy was a dream for me because Italy and opera and all the Dolce Vita, and I couldn't believe I was going to Rome. So I couldn't say no to such an invitation. And in the meantime, he proposed me to take part of a competition near Milan, in Cantu. A small competition. At that time, it was quite, for me, a big thing, a first international competition. And I won both categories, the romantic and the classical, so because it was for concertos. No, one was with Chopin 2 and the other one was for Beethoven 3. So, and then my Italian life started. So, and wonderful, must say, wonderful life that I live until today, because I'm here for already 25, 26 years. I'm living in Italy. And I met my future husband and etc. And the rest of the story that, well.
And you met your next teacher also there, must have been, yes?
Yeah.
Was it at that competition or was it somewhere else?
In the Cantu competition, Boris Petrushansky was part of the jury, and exactly. So that's why I discovered the academy in Imola, where I went to study afterwards, and that's how I studied with him and with Franco Scala. And so they became my teachers for the next 10 years. And also, yes, also for the rest of my life, I must say, because Boris Petrushansky became my father-in-law.
in good tradition of many musical famous musician stories. With the reverse, Schumann marries his Clara, the daughter of his teacher, and so forth. There were many wonderful stories that way. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was very fortunate to land in the best possible hands, I must say.
Besides, of course, Boris' continuous guidance and everything, there must have been a very important personality that you met, and I mean Zoltan Kosic. Tell me about him, because I'd love to show our viewers part of the Bartók sonata. So tell me that story.
Well, I grew up with his recordings, and I always admired him so much. I thought he was a genius of the piano and a concentration of energy, and always felt very inspired by this personality. I didn't know exactly why, but I really loved every recording he did, the Debussy, the Bartók, even the Mozarts, the Beethoven, everything I was following, like, one big light for me to be inspired by. And from 99 until his last year of living, he always invited me to play with his orchestra, and he made me learned so much repertoire. I played concertos that I would have never learned from myself. I thought I have very small hands, Dima, maybe you don't know. So there are things I thought I couldn't play. Prokofiev concerto, Bartok, and all this kind of big repertoire. I was avoiding it a little bit. I said, let's leave the Russians for the Russians. Let's leave the Bartok for the Hungarians. I will do my Chopin, I will do my Beethoven. But he pushed me into big repertoire, and I so glad, because that made me do a big jump of, pianistically.
Big development, big influence.
Yeah.
In 2006, you were the recipient of that unique piano prize, the Gilmore Prize. First of all, tell a little bit to those of us who really don't know what it is. I looked it up, of course, but for the uninitiated. So in Kalamazoo, Michigan, of all places, I've been there once, Kalamazoo, Michigan, yeah. But it's a small town. And how come this most important piano prize comes from there?
Well, it's a small town with an amazing musical tradition, because this festival that exists since many, many years has brought, again, so many wonderful artists there. So the community is so devoted to this festival and to the classical music, and giving everything possible as a community to make this happen. And that's a fantastic experience. When you go there, you feel that people are enthusiastic to belong to this. And actually, Gilmore was a very wealthy man, lonely, so with no family, with no inheritance, let's say, I don't know in English how to say. He decided that he wanted to give everything to the classical music, and because he was owner of a chain of supermarkets, I think. And he gave all this money, like that, just do a festival, just give it to the classical music. And I don't know exactly when this idea started to grow, but the objective of this, which is not a competition, actually, that's the interesting part of it. The objective of this prize is to discover a musician, a pianist, because he was a passionate of piano, a pianist that has the characteristics, according to the jury, to develop an international career, and they want to judge these pianists in their natural habitat. So you don't take part of the competition. You don't even know that you're being followed for years and years, even 4 or 5 years. You're being followed by a jury of maybe 10 people, and important people, let's say the president of EMI, or the director of the piano series in the Carnegie Hall. These kind of people are following you. So one day, as happened to me, I was in Atlanta playing in the Chopin Society in Atlanta. I was quite depressed at that time, as I must tell you, because I was not happy about the piano that day. I was unhappy to be far away from home, and for what? I was asking me, okay, it's time maybe to, I don't know, think about what to do. And then I received an invitation to have lunch with someone from the Gilmore festival, which I was reading about a week before. I was going to Atlanta, and for some reason I saw that Andershevsky and Ansnes were the recipients of the other awards in the past years. And I said, what is this competition? How can I take part of this? I say, well, that's so interesting, because the prize, the price is amazing because it opens you the door of the whole world and recording companies and a lot of money and all of the things that we all think about as students, no? And well, so he invites me, this Dan Gastin invites me for lunch the day of the concert, and he asks me to have a ticket for that. I will say, okay, this is a nice opportunity. Maybe he wants to invite me for the festival. I said, that would be wonderful. So we established such a nice conversation, easy and friendly. And okay, it was towards the end of this meeting. I'm eating my salad, I'm having my salad, and in the meantime, he says, okay, Ingrid, I tell you why I'm here. You know that we have this festival, you know? He said, yes, I know. I say, oh, here it comes the invitation, I thought. And and you know that we have this award that we give every 4 years. I said, yeah, I know about that. I read wonderful things about it. I say, okay, you're the next recipient. You're the next winner. And you can imagine, I was jumping like a monkey, like a crazy person, and hugging this man and thanking him and say, are you talking about that award that I read about? Okay, so
is it the same thing? But that's in a way the best way to, the best system to award an up-and-coming talent. So let's hear the father of symphonies, the father of string quartets, but also who wrote pretty fantastically for the piano. Tell me, we never talked about yet about your important hobby or something that you love, painting.
Oh, yeah.
Because you paint quite. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's a discovery I did almost 10 years ago. And it started, of course, I have been always a big fan of painting and art and going to museums. I'm fascinating all my life by painting, of course. But I once was passionate about one painting that I saw in the internet of an Israeli painter. And I wanted so much to buy it, but it was too expensive. And it was an abstract with a sheep. And Anton, my husband, said, why don't you try to paint it yourself? And then I say, come on, I've never tried and I will never do such a thing. But I say, you lose nothing. And then the miracle happened. I don't tell you that I painted like the painter, of course, but the miracle happened of the feeling that something incredible was happening in front of the white canvas. And I couldn't stop this incredible flow that invaded me. And that's it. I never quit since then. Of course, I go through moments in which I start being too, again, how can I say, tend to feel professional about it, and that's the ruin of it. when you stop having fun, yes, that's when the fun stops. That's when your professional, personality comes in and demands from you the perfection but of course that makes you grow. And but this is a hobby that somehow puts me into another dimension of, no boundaries, no too hard judgment towards me, because with music I'm terribly judgmental. We have to be. We're self-demanding. We are obsessive.
Personal view.
Exactly. So and I always felt this very, very strong need of just demanding from me the perfection. And I cannot even have a good night's sleep if I haven't solved the problem in the piano, and I get very obsessed about things, etc. But with painting, it's my way of letting this tension go away. And I have just mostly have fun, I have to say. And I discover the beauty of it's just that every possibility is there. Also, because with music, I have never had the opportunity of improvising from scratch. And that's a main thing that it's missing in my education, and I miss it a lot. But with painting, I can do it.
I wanted to touch a little bit about your newest two important development. I mean, one that you're teaching, and that's kind of important. And how do you approach teaching, having been on the other side, on the receiving end of being you studied for many years with all these wonderful teachers, but now you find yourself on the other side. So what's that like for you?
I must say that I love it so much, because I take it as an opportunity for me to learn, because there are a few things that you have to learn to explain with the words, and that maybe are kind of natural for you in a way, maybe not, but you cannot really explain what you're doing. Now you have to explain. You cannot say, okay, I do it like this, just copy. Or, okay, if they ask you, how do you do this? I cannot just say, look, I do it like this. I have to understand and logically arrive to a good, clear explanation for them to try to enhance their possibilities. Because it's so interesting to this new role that you discover you have as a teacher. You have to find different solutions for different people. You cannot think about yourself, because the hand is different, because the personality is different. So there is no one method for every that you can apply. You can more or less physically, that tension shouldn't be there. There are some rules that you, of course, you follow. The tension, how you let your natural weight go down with the keys, the space, the breathing. But still, fingering is also another thing that it's interesting and kind of fun and like a game, because each student needs a different fingering. So my mind is burning when I give lesson. I have to teach, I have to think of so many possibilities. And I learned a lot of repertoire that I don't play, because of course it could be much easier for me to teach things that I already practice myself, so I can know by heart what to say here and there, and that there's legato and the pedal. But when I don't know the piece, I learn the piece, I prepare, because I ask my students what are they bringing, or we decide the repertoire together. And I learned a lot of repertoire like this, and find the solutions and understand the structure of the piece fast, and help this, because we are like kind of doctors. The student comes like for ourselves, right? We for ourselves, we are the best, also good teachers, because we know what's missing. But when you listen from outside, it's even better, because you have a clearer idea. You're not so involved. And so this person comes and you understand that there are some things to solve. So you're like a doctor, and it's good to see that you're helpful, and that you can give some advice that really the person discovers and opens the door for him. And, helping is a wonderful feeling.
And the last thing I wanted to talk to you briefly at least, about the change in your personal situation. You became a mom 7 months ago.
Yes,
What
almost
what
8.
an event! What
It
an
has
event!
been, yeah, it has been a benediction from God, I must say. The best present I could get from life. I'm so eternally grateful for this opportunity to experiment what means to take care of someone this way, discover a lot about ourselves, myself, about life, about my role as a mother. I don't know what it is. I'm discovering day by day. I just know I have this little girl, which is a piece of my heart, and I want to help her have the best life possible. So it's a very humble experience. It's not about you. It's not about you. And we artists are quite kind of egocentric. So, oh, I will do this because she can love me. She will recognize me as a mother. No, you cannot think that way, because you put a weight into the shoulders of this baby, which doesn't deserve. She deserves to have the freedom and happiness and fulfillment. So I want to help her that way, and have a marvelous partner in life that believes in the same way, and he will be the best father possible. So we just hope that she will be healthy, and that we will be good guiders for her.
And the name Alma was they had directly to do with Mahler, or just with your
Well,
family to do?
of course, Mahler is one of my gods, and I always thought the Alma name was beautiful, but never thought of it until Anton was in a festival in Germany, and he said, "You know, my best, one of his good friends, had a baby, and said they named her Alma, and I was pregnant for 3 months or from, and I clicked, and I said, that's the name for our baby." That's
Oh, okay.
And of
Before
course,
you even,
Alma Mahler always has been a strong personality that I was very fascinated about. Not only me, so many people were. So it was a name that, how can I say, had a personality and some kind of soul, because alma in Spanish is it's soul. So
so, oh,
yeah.
wonderful. And of course, for your beautiful baby, we should need, before we part, to hear one more clip of you playing Chopin Valse, famous Valse, uh, A flat major, Opus 42. I learned a great deal about you, and I really can't wait to see you in Greensboro in April. We have a lot of time for everything to come
Yes,
down
calm
and
down.
for
We
you to
just
be able
hope.
to
I absolutely.
play.
I'm looking forward, Dima, so much. And thanks a lot for
Thank
this
you
time
so
together.
much for curiosity and wonderful, wonderful conversation and beautiful playing, of course.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.